us. That worked.
All right.
Yep, we're both here.
Perfect. All right.
Welcome.
I will get you guys on early. I know that even though the election is 90 days away, seems a lot shorter than that, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Feels like it's tomorrow.
When does early voting start? October 29th? Is that what I remember?
October 6th.
October 6th. Okay, so you're 2 months away from that.
Correct.
Wow.
We have our first ballot programming day on the 27th. We're gonna test our equipment third week of September, so all the equipment will be tested and ready to roll by the third week of September.
Perfect. Okay, Jimmy, you got this thing recording. Are we ready to go?
Yes, Commissioner Kirschner, go ahead and start when you're ready.
Okay, let us start by having the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America,
and
to the republic
for
which
which
it stands,
one nation under God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, guys. Commissioner Paradiso, would you lead us in prayer?
Dear God, we're so grateful for all the things we have. I have a quote here I'd like to read. You are not what has happened to you. You are not what you have accomplished. You are not even who you are today or who you have become so far. You are who and what you are still capable of becoming. So, Lord, we thank you for the blessings of our past, but we also ask you as we move forward to continue to grow and do good things and make good decisions. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner. Nikki, roll call.
Commissioner Kirschner,
Here.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Here.
and Commissioner Thomas.
present.
Perfect. 100% attendance. That's great. I'll accept the motion to approve the digital, audio, video recording of the previous board session held July 30th.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Paradiso, for that second. Nikki?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes. Okay. Trace or Stacy, are you ready to give us your report?
If you want to let the Board of Elections go,
All right.
you can do that. If I
We
have
have-
to get up in the middle, we've got bids coming at 11. So if you see me get up, I have to go get the bids. So.
Okay, we have got with us today both Lori Richler and Jim Ehrman from the Board of Elections. And they asked for a little bit of time this morning, and then I have a couple of comments and questions for them. So whichever one of you would like to speak, please go ahead.
I'm here to speak just to ask the commissioners to approve a couple of supplemental appropriations. They both came in through grants. We've got over 80,000 in HAVA funds that need to be approved so that we can get working on some of the directives from the Secretary of State. And we've got 42,000 in reimbursement grants from the Secretary of State that we would like to get appropriated back to the supply line so we can start ordering up the supplies for this election.
Okay.
But I think, Commissioner Kirschner, you also wanted us to talk about the poll workers and the training.
I did, yes.
I believe we have, we've kind of got an accelerated timeline from the Secretary of State on our training now. We are required to have all of our training done by October 15th. However, on our schedule, we did do 2 emergency trainings after that date for last minute folks. The trainings are going to last approximately 3 hours. The board currently approves $30 payment for attending that training. There's also going to be training online provided by the Secretary of State that requires a login and a password, which we can provide, and that pays $10 as well. One of the requirements of our directive was we were required to send out a letter to all the poll workers that have worked in the past 3 years and ask them if they would be willing to work, if they are absolutely positively not working, or if they're unsure. I think we currently have a couple hundred of those back.
About 110 are working.
110 supposedly will work. More are choosing not to work, obviously under those conditions. So we're getting there. We're getting there. It's a slow process, but Jimmy's been fabulous. He's come here and had a meeting with us. He's got a plan for getting things out to the media and to get us going on Facebook. And I must say, I'm going to give a Jimmy Flint plug here. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't be able to do half of what we do in terms of the Facebook and the media. He just handles that for us, and it's one less thing we have to worry about.
Slow
Very
down
good.
a little bit. You'll get a big head.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lori. I really appreciate it.
So the purpose that, one of the things, Lori, that we wanted to say was that we, as a Board of Commissioners, have approved any employee who is expendable that day, for lack of a better word, the day of the election, to work either as a precinct person or as a substitute in case you need them. Obviously, in order for that to happen, they have to go through one of the training sessions. Jimmy, I believe, is posting on the county website the dates of all the training. You got a press release to that effect somewhere, Jim?
Yes, that is in the pipeline. Right now, we're ramping up our social media efforts, trying to get a post or two out a day on the Seneca County Board of Elections page. And then we will put a press release out and hopefully get some media coverage that talks about what the dates are for the training and obviously list the phone number if people have questions.
Okay, and we have an elected officials call on Tuesday coming, at which point we will advise them that we would ask them to encourage their folks to sign up to either be a precinct worker or a substitute. Again, encouraging them to go get the training done on the dates that'll be listed. So we're trying to do our part. This was a request as well, not only from the Board of Elections, but also from Secretary of State, Secretary LaRose. So we're trying to comply with that and make certain that this thing goes smoothly.
I was going to say, this kind of support really means a lot to us. After you passed the resolution, I believe for the primary, we had, I think, maybe 7 county employees sign up to be regular poll workers, which was phenomenal. We've always had 3 or 4 that have always done it, but that resolution did prompt a few more that were interested. And Commissioner Kirschner, I really like the idea of having county employees as backups, you know, that are willing to say, hey, at that 11th hour, we need you. Can you come in and punt for us? So that's fabulous. Thank you.
Well, you're more than welcome. But go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, can you remind me how many poll workers you need to recruit?
We typically need be about 220 to actually serve the polling locations. However, we would like to have 4 to 6 rovers that are going to be available to go out in the field for any kind of assistance that is needed at the polling location. So, you know, a good solid 230 that says, yes, we're going to work, and then we like to have another 20 on backup for when everybody says, oh, I've got COVID or somebody's in the hospital. You know, we had 2 elections ago, a gal who was scheduled to work and her husband died overnight, and she had to call off that very morning. So, I mean, those things truly do happen. So we like to have that little backup of 20 to 25. So
Yeah, sometimes you don't know until 7 a.m. of the day of the election, right? I mean, somebody doesn't show.
Correct.
You can't open the precinct until you have a staff. So you need to get somebody in there. So yeah.
Yeah, I received my letter, so I appreciate it. I've always enjoyed being a poll worker. Two things. One, I have a question about the drop box. Currently, we're going to have a drop box downtown Tiffin. Is there any plans to expand that? What is the current direction on that?
At this point in time, we believe that that is going to be the one and only box because it must be monitored 24/7 by a security camera. And then it also requires a bipartisan team to empty them. So once we get into election mode, if we put drop boxes anywhere else, they have to be monitored 24/7, and then we have to find a team of two, a Democrat and Republican, to go empty that. So we also have wall mount box in the lobby, but at this point in time, we weren't considering expanding any boxes.
Okay, and we didn't experience any problems with our drop box.
Oh,
No.
no, it worked fabulous. Should have done it years ago. Chairman Fruth always talked about wanting to do it. We just never followed through. It's fabulous.
Okay, good.
Not to interrupt, Jimmy, it says recording paused on the Zoom. Can you check that before we continue?
Yes, it keeps doing that. I think what we're going to need to do is use I'll just cut the video from Facebook. So it should be okay. It's doing that on its own. That's like the second or third time it's done that. So
Okay.
what we'll do is I'll just rip the video from Facebook. So
Okay.
don't worry about it.
All right, thank you.
And then I don't want to miss the opportunity. So when can people register to vote, request an absentee ballot, and vote in person, just so we have those timelines out there?
They can register to vote right now.
Okay.
They can request the application for an absentee ballot at this point.
Voter registration ends October 5th at 9 p.m., so that voter reg has to be here by 9 p.m. on October 5th. Like you said, we can start taking the applications now for the absentee, just knowing that those ballots do not go out until October 6th. The Secretary of State is going to do 2 mass mailings of absentee applications to all registered voters as well. But I believe we already have 250 absentee applications in the office.
And
Well-
we will be able to early vote starting October 6th. Okay. We certainly encourage everybody to vote.
Yes, we do. Vote early. We won't add the last part of it. Well, thank you very much, folks, for being here. I know you're extremely busy. You're welcome to stay on, or you're welcome to leave at this point in time. But thank you very much, both Jim and Lori.
Do you need
President Kirshner, would you like a motion to do those 2 supplementals?
Yeah, do you have anything else you're going to need to add at the end, Stacy, that we're going to need to vote on? Yeah, let's go ahead. That's fine. Go ahead, Shane.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Nikki?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes. Okay, Stacy Wilson, do you have anything for the good of the order today?
Yes, I do. So you guys already approved these. I'm just gonna say it so that way it's on the recording. This is for $42,087.43 to the general fund supplies. And then for the HAVA, $80,132 for supplies. Just want to make sure that's on the record. So, yes, a couple things. Wanted to let you know, I've been kind of working with Teresa Kopp, juvenile probate, and some of the other judges' staff. They were kind of ahead of the game working on a COVID policy. And so I've asked them for their templates because I've had other elected officials just kind of asking if we had a policy. Basically, it's more of a return to work, or if you have an employee that tested positive or even in contact. So since I've had other departments, general fund departments, request it, I did reach out to Teresa. She sent me hers. So hopefully I'll have that to you guys next week. to review and potentially approve. That way, if, departments want to adopt it, we're all staying pretty much the same. So I'll have that next week. Just want to let you know we were working on that. Our COVID coronavirus relief fund meeting, we were getting back together on Monday. We've got 10 requests in already. Some are new since we made it effective August 1st. And then a few of them are asking for past requests. So we wanted to get the meeting as soon as we could. So that's Monday. So we can get some of those that they're waiting on approval right now. Museum grants. I want to thank David. David started this whole process, 3 years ago, for the museum carriage house. And, Charlene picked up the project midway, so David could get on with some of his other work. And I think Charlene, she did hard work on that too. We did receive the $25,000 in yesterday. So both projects are done, the carriage house and the security cameras, they're all complete, and we did get the funding back. I wanted to just give you a quick update on where we're at the end of the July, bring up those reports. And so I guess we'll start with expense, and so that's what I got up. You'll see here the totals, year-to-date totals, $9,667,752.34. Budget, as you can tell, it's up after our $2 million decrease in our original budget, but a lot of those expenses are attributed to new expenses like the airport. We had to increase revenue because of those projects, but those projects will obviously bring in that revenue to reflect. So that's why the adjustments look different. Instead of the $2 million that we had cut, it was back up a little bit, but purely for projects that were increased revenue that we will be receiving. And then we'll go to the revenue side, see where we're at currently. Year-to-date revenue, we're at 11.3, and our anticipated revenue at the end of July was at the 16.4. And Budget Commission met on Monday. They didn't make any adjustments. They talked about the property tax, and the property tax was looking good. That is not in this report yet. As you can see, we've still got it outstanding. I think she mentioned it would be settled in September. So we'll see that amount come on our revenue report as of September. They weren't ready to make any other adjustments other than they did adjust it just for the Board of Elections revenue. So that was just the updates I wanted to give for the end of July. If you'd have any questions.
Okay, very good. Since we're on this topic, budget, we've got those numbers near us at this point. I usually have the other commissioners report first, but I wanted to talk about the budget report here for a few minutes. As Stacy has indicated, we are at 69% of expected revenue, where we were scheduled to be at 58%. So we're above budget. Now, keeping in mind that we did put $885,000 of Medicaid money in there. So I am cognizant of that fact. Sales taxes have performed much better than we had predicted. Sales tax for July, which we believe are May's numbers, were about 686,000. 684 in April and 692 in March. So there is some consistency there, and we're starting to see slight increases. Revenue year to date is 11.4 million, as Stacy indicated. Now, again, I think as a matter of fairness, we need to take out the 885. And I talked to Stacy earlier today, and there's $200,000 and other items that need to be subtracted out of that. But that still takes us to even with those out, it takes us to about 10.4 million, as compared to 9.8 million at this point in 2019. We actually, from an income and expense standpoint, are in as good a shape or better shape than we were last year, in that expenses year to date through July last year were 10.9 million, and the income was 9.8, whereas this year income, again subtracting out the $1 million Medicaid money and other items, we're at 9.6 million. So 10.4 in income, ordinary income, and 9.6 in expenses. Additionally, we cut the sheriff back, or the sheriff's projections were cut back to 700,000. As of the end of July, he's about $83,000 short of that. If you annualize what his income will be, it should be in the range of 900,000 to $1 million, as opposed to the 700 that we're showing in our projections. In addition to that, with the CARES Act money, many dollars can be replaced for public safety payroll, especially in the sheriff's office. That's a variable that we're not sure of, but we are sure that it's income. From my perspective, commissioners, we cut people's hours by 20% back in March in anticipation of falling revenues. And I think, as a matter of fairness, we should talk about bringing them back in anticipation of stable or increased, for a couple of reasons. One is, I think it's a good example to the private sector that we believe we can get back and get back into a routine of having full employment. And two, those folks that are laid off are typically those that are on the lower end of the income scale, and probably the people that need it the most. In light of the fact that as of July, that additional money has went away, I have no idea if and when the next round is going to happen, but we know that that money is going away for them. So I would like to have a discussion about whether or not we ought to bring people back on a regular full-time basis. As of September, we talked about making a decision, or at least having a discussion about a decision in July, and we decided that no, that's too soon. We talked about making a decision in August, and there was some discussion of Budget Commission. No, that's too soon. But we didn't hesitate in March when we had regular revenues, but we anticipated them falling off a cliff. So I'll open that up for discussion.
Yeah, we would ask for some additional data from the sheriff's department. Did we get that?
He gave me the amount that he's requesting from, like if he brought him back next week at full time to the end of the year. But Charlene is working on potentially doing the grant that she's working on with the courts. So he may not need that out of the general fund. If that gets approved, we should know. I think Charlene was getting that submitted yet this week. But I do have the amounts. I can.
Okay, I think the big takeaway from the sheriff, one of the big takeaways from the sheriff, is that we did reduce that income projection to 700,000, and it's most certainly going to be 900, and maybe closer to $1 million if you annualize what's happened so far. And even with that part, we'll have some additional money reimbursed for the public safety payroll. We don't know that dollar amount, but we do know there will be some. Now, there's no question that the year is not going to be what the year was in 19, but we have now had people on furlough, so to speak, since March. It's been 4 full months, and September will be 5 full months. So my proposal, or my suggestion, is that we bring people back.
This is what Sheriff submitted to bringing his staff back to full-time for his 0305. He's looking at 156,701. For his 0306 is $276,519.13. And so that's what we're looking at, or that's what he'd be looking at if we would allow him to go bring his staff back full time. And again, like he said, that, you know, he's starting to get in some more locals. There's a few, he's bringing in just a few ICE detainees. So the population is increasing. So those are the numbers he's asking for, but Charlene is going to work with him to try to see if we could get that money from the court grant that she's working on.
Do we have a timeline on the approval of that grant?
They've done 2 round approvals already since April. So I'd have to check with Charlene, but she said she was going to get them submitted this week. They had only released maybe 9 million out of the 16 million available. So we're hopeful, but I don't know if she's on the call by any chance, if she would know how long when the 3rd round is going to go in. But I can ask her.
Yeah, and I would be curious to know if that needs to be expended from the grant or if it can reimburse the general fund if we advance it.
I think it can be reimbursed.
Okay.
Yep, because I know other departments have already submitted those with Charlene. I think she got that answer that it's, you know, if we brought them on today, you know, we would be hoping we would get the grant. You know, if not, obviously, then it just comes out of the general fund. But the idea is to get that reimbursed when it comes in.
Okay. Commissioner Kirschner, I'd be comfortable putting that on the agenda for next week.
Okay.
And then if we could get the same kind of numbers so we know what we're talking about in dollars for the rest of the staff.
I think that's fair. And I do also want to add the agenda to review any contracts that we have out there as well. Again, as a matter of fairness, we're contractually obligated on some of the things. I know that we've deferred them, but we at least need to look at them to affirm or change our position regarding contractual obligations that we have. And again, you're right, Shane, we need to quantify it. So we'll come up with some numbers for all that stuff.
Stacy, if the grant, back to the sheriff revenue and a couple comments, if the is a backup to the grant the CARES money, since this is safety, and so
Yes.
are there 2 possibilities to get reimbursed for this money?
Yes, as long as we don't reimburse the same amount. But yes, that is a possibility.
And but that is a finite number that we have available that can be reimbursed. So even without the sheriff's money that we're talking about, it looks like we're going to use up all the money we have, right?
We're hoping, yes.
So if we were to drop this money in for the sheriff, we're just robbing Peter to pay Paul at the back end, because we're not going to see, once the CARES Act money's gone, it's gone, right?
Right.
Yeah. But
Okay.
Commissioner, you have to remember that the state is still holding $800 million that needs to be dispersed
Right.
to the political subdivisions. And that money needs to be dispersed, as I understand it, by the end of October. The big discussion is whether or not it can be used for general operating. And there is more and more leaning towards the possibility that will happen. So, you know, we've got, nothing is ever sure, but we've got a lot of potential sources of revenue here and reimbursement back to the general fund over the course of the rest of this year.
Yeah, and I mean, Shane mentioned he would like to see the cost of bringing people back. I think that's a good point, Shane. But I'm I know you're a banker, Mike, but my math isn't following your math as far as available dollars. I mean, I'm looking at it. The sheriff's better than 700, but he's still 400 short of 19. Casino short, interest revenue short. We're only trending 11% above the $2 million reduction. So unless I'm missing something, 2 million times 11%, what is that, 220, you know, so I don't see where we're even, and we spent the Medicaid money. I mean, we have to work, I'm going to work on that with Stacy this week, but I don't follow you with your math.
Well, the fact is that you're talking about only trending 11% higher than we predicted, but you're using the lowest possible numbers to create that trend. Again, we laid people off in anticipation of money falling off before it actually fell off.
Oh, we did. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, a couple of months before it fell off. My point is that we should hire them back in anticipation of revenues increasing. Every indication is that they will be increasing, because the trend line, even using your math, 11%, that is an increase over what we had thought about, and we are now going to be into the final quarter of the year. So it doesn't have an annual effect; it has a quarterly effect on the income statement. But the numbers themselves are what they are. The fact is that we have taken out the $885,000 Medicaid money, removing that from the equation. We have got more revenue this year to the tune of $10 million than we did at this point last year, which was $9.8 million. Okay.
Well, I don't disagree with that, and I'm 100% in favor of bringing the people back as soon as we can. Okay. That said, we had some, last year was a great year. So the first quarter of this year had tremendous runoff, higher tax revenues. We got money from work comp that came in. And first quarter next year, I just don't feel that's going to be there. My other concern is going forward is that we just have no reserves. We have no extra money. And to have a carry forward of 1 month's revenue, $1.5 million, some number like that, is just, I don't think, unrealistic at all. If we had to go to the well and find money, unless I'm missing something, in our stabilization fund, we have 600,000. Other than that, we have nowhere to go. So I agree with you. It feels good. We're trending much better, but I still think we've got some variables with this government aid and some of those things. And my position too is, we've got the shared work program in place.
I get it.
I'm not quite there, but I want to get there. So I just want to be transparent with you.
Yep.
And, maybe I just need a little more education on the revenue. Okay, Mike, I'm just not,
I understand about the budget stabilization fund. Just remember that we had nothing.
Thank God for that.
Here.
Right.
Okay. And also remember that the reason that we put it away was because we did have some excess in revenue over expenses. Right now, we don't have that luxury. I will guarantee you that as soon as we get back to that position, and I believe we will once again begin to fund the budget stabilization fund. But for now, we have to shoot the ducks that are flying. And the fact is that we've got income that supports expenses. We are not into a negative situation. It just, again, we anticipated a loss of revenue, and we were right. So we cut back expenses. But if we're going to anticipate an increase, we owe it to the same folks that we cut to get them back. My opinion.
We'll see next week what the numbers.
Okay.
What that means economically. Good point.
So it's time for commissioner reports. I've given pretty much what I have. Commissioner Thomas, would you like to bring us up to date on your activities?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. One is, are we comfortable giving Stacy the authority to open and close the office based on what's going on with our color coding from the state and COVID? And, does she need to come back to us? Are we comfortable delegating that to her?
My opinion is I'm comfortable delegating that to her as long as she, emails us in advance and says this is what we're doing. We
Yeah.
have every opportunity, at that point to say, no, I want you in here. But at this point, I think that she's handled it very well, and I'm okay. I just need to be notified. I'd like to know. I'm in here most every day anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
I concur.
Yeah. Okay. I also wanted to give a shout out to Pivot. They had a graduation recently, had it down to East Green, and the work they're doing over there. I really appreciate the people they put through the program, and they had a nice celebration, and I think that deserves recognition. So I wanted to give them a shout out. I also, my phone has been lighting up about the museum. So I know we'll get to that later, but I just wanted to put that out there. There's a lot of conversation, a lot of interest. And the last thing, Commissioner Paradiso, this is for your benefit. This virtual background that I have here is Martin Luther King striving towards this Springfield State House for Illinois State House in Springfield. And, 6 months ago, we had some folks ask us about joining with them to have a conversation about putting an MLK statue or memorial somewhere in the city of Tiffin or Seneca County. And, COVID came and not a lot has happened on that. So I just wanted to put that out there that I think we should probably restart those talks and get something going on there, at least from a planning standpoint. So I don't know if any of you have any thoughts on that.
Well, personally, I'm glad you brought it up, and I support the process. We just have to find the right place and the right funding and the right everything. But Martin Luther King recognition in the county or in the city, I support that initiative, and I'm part of that. So more to come.
Okay. Going back to your comments on Pivot, Commissioner Thomas, I just want to let you know that both Judge Judy French and Judge Sharon Kennedy, Supreme Court Justice in Ohio, have been in town lately, recognizing and asking about that Pivot program. So it does get the attention statewide from the Supreme Court Justice as well. I think that's a good recognition for Seneca County.
Good shout out.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Paradiso.
So Mike, I have something for new business when we get to that.
Okay.
But prior to that, just a couple things. I was on a call earlier today with the Seneca County Family and Children First Council, and chaired by Kathy Oliver this year. Just great people, huge concern for the kids in the community. One of the things that stuck out to me were the special needs kids, where with COVID, it's not only about going to school and getting the academic piece, but it's your routine every day, and it's your socialization with others. I see David nodding, and you just feel they're just working so hard to try to make the best of everything they have. And I just want to commend all those agencies and all their hard work for what they're doing. It also was brought up that Nicole brought up, works with Mirsha, that there has been an increase in overdoses in our county and in suicide attempts. And, part of that is because of this whole emotional lockdown, and they're on top of it. Shout out to Pivot. But living in Seneca County, working in Seneca County, I just feel we have problems like everybody else, but I feel real good that the people we have working on these things are doing a great job. I had an opportunity to meet with Bryce Riggs at the chamber. We discussed Seneca County, Destination Seneca County. He's basically not letting any grass grow under his feet. Would like a little bit of time towards the end of the year till he reports to us. But he reminds me, or he told me, that the state of Ohio, there are 6 chambers and visitors bureaus that are combined that have the model Tiffin has. And he's visited one, he's visiting a couple more. I think Ashland was one of them. He's kind of rewriting a proposal, maybe amend the current contract that we have with the chamber for those services. And he's reached out to many of the arts and history groups, the museums, and the Ritz, et cetera, the library, to talk about bus tours. And so I'm pretty excited that the direction he's headed with COVID. Not a lot of things going on, but he's doing a lot of planning. So he wanted me to, bring the commissioners up to date on that. And then finally, I am going to, when the meeting's over, make a trip to Clyde, Ohio, to listen to the president at Whirlpool. Excited about that. I'll be representing the commissioners on this trip. This is for elected officials. There won't be Trump signs or anything like that. This is all about manufacturing, bringing jobs back to Ohio, to the U.S. And we're pretty excited the president's coming. And so I'll be there. Hopefully I get some pictures and report back. That's all I have. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And the last thing that I have is continuing with the political theme. We did meet with Representative Reineke and Congressman Jim Jordan a couple of days ago in Fostoria. They brought us up to date, both from a state standpoint and from the national standpoint, about what's going on in this area as it relates to the CARES Act and whether or not there'll be another round of funding, et cetera. So very interesting. The good news is that both our congressman and our representative are paying attention to us and answering our questions. So I thank them for that. The state of Ohio has got a new president, or a new House Speaker, a gentleman by the name of Cupp from Lima. Allen County is going to dominate the state, evidently, because the president of the Senate is also an Allen County person. So we've got the president of the Senate and the House, both from Allen County. Okay.
Hey, Mike, Jimmy just texted me that this is the first time a sitting president has visited Sandusky County since 1912.
Really?
So it's kind of a big deal. I mean, made in the USA is one thing, made in Ohio is another thing. And if it can't be made in Seneca County, David, Sandusky County in our Northwest Ohio region, it's not a bad thing. So
that's pretty close. Maybe we gave him a drive through Seneca County at some point.
Or maybe Marine One will fly around and, just get a corner shot or something. But
we can get Brad Newman to take him for a little trip around the lake or something, right?
So,
okay.
Jimmy, we should probably send a letter to Speaker Cupp congratulating him from us. We work closely with the House, so we should probably send out a letter.
That's
Sure.
very good.
I'm going to draft to you. Yep.
Thank you.
That's an excellent point. And probably, and probably to Matt as well in the Senate to just let him know that we're thinking about him and appreciate whatever he can do for Seneca County while we're at it. Good. Okay.
Good.
All right. Well, the featured agenda item is next. Anything else before we get into that discussion?
No.
Okay. So, old business, the museum. I'll just kind of open it up for you gentlemen to give me your thoughts.
Well, there's obviously a lot of interest, as I alluded to earlier. I've gotten a lot of calls, people, that I don't hear from regularly, but pay close attention to what's going on. And, clearly we have a lot of conversation to be had on this. So, last week was the first time we brought it to the attention of folks that there was a proposal out there. And, so I think we need to have some form of dialogue going forward. I just remind everyone that the museum's closed because of financial reasons. There wasn't any other motive behind that other than, as we were talking earlier, we cut the sheriff's budget. So, that's deputies' time. And those are hard decisions to make, but I think we got everybody together and made the best decisions we could with the information we had at that time. If we're contemplating a change, then, we have to move beyond the budget conversation. And, I have not been disappointed with the museum and the way it's been run. So, I don't feel the need for a change from that direction, but the financial aspect of it certainly is intriguing.
Okay.
As Shane, I've received numerous calls, and I didn't realize this history of the museum and the operation of the museum and the foundation and the historical society goes way, way back. So for me, I've taken this past week to try to educate myself a little bit. And I kind of agree with Shane. I think the Historical Society, I've read some articles in the paper and some Facebook articles and talked to some people. And I have a lot of gratitude for Tanya, in this case, her time at the museum. Many of that was volunteer, much of that, some of that is paid. And I think the narrative has to be, are we going to bring Tanya back and open the museum? That's not going to happen. I mean, we don't have any money right now to do that. I don't see that. Mike and I, we just had a discussion about, a debate over, do we have money to bring people back? So I think the narrative has to be a little more about finances is part of it, but I think, we've got to talk about getting the museum open and that kind of thing. I'm concerned. We've started some projects. We've taken some inventory. We're working on the carriage house. We've got some things in motion. I don't know why they're not done. I don't know if they're half done. I don't know where anything is. But as a county commissioner, I also feel we need to be good stewards, not only financially, but also of the assets of the museum. So I would like to see, a little better. I like to see a baseline. I mean, when you buy a business, you get a list of assets. So I think we need some, if we go a different direction, even if we don't go a different direction, I would like to see a little better accounting of what's in there and kind of how that works. So we have at least an understanding if we are to turn this over to a third party or just to know it going forward. But I think we need to do something. And I guess that's my position now. I'm not necessarily, I don't want to vote on anything today, Mike, but I guess those are my thoughts right now. Keep talking.
Well, I have met with both entities. I promised the foundation last week that I would present their proposal to us, which we did. You all have it. I told them that I didn't know where the discussion would go, and this is where the discussion is going. I met early on with Mark and Tanya, and told them what we had on the table, so there wasn't any surprises before last week's meeting. But I mean, I think that we need to lay our cards on the table here. What we have is a situation that we have opposing forces. We have the foundation and the Historical Society who, for lack of a better way of saying it, don't have much use for each other. And that's been laid at our feet. Okay, we have to make a decision. In a perfect world, those two entities would be cooperative, and we would figure out a way that this thing would work with the cooperation of the volunteers and the foundation. The foundation has the funds to run the museum, and I believe the capabilities probably as well. The Historical Society has their history of putting a lot of time and effort in this thing, but you know, I don't want the final decision to be about money or about the manager. Let's talk about what is in the best interest of those we represent long term. Let's talk about our grandkids and what decision we make today will affect them when they want to go to the museum with their kids somewhere in the future. So it's not about the moment. It's about the long-term viability and sustainability of the Sunday County Museum. We mentioned Allen County earlier. I had said earlier that I knew of no other county-owned museum, and I have been corrected and told that Allen County's museum is also owned by the county. So that I've made a couple of phone calls down there. They also have a foundation, but that foundation and the historical folks that run the museum are in lockstep with each other, and they've been successful. I'm not saying any of this to make any type of statement other than to tell you the facts. This is what we're faced with. You know, we've got two organizations who are not friendly with each other, I guess is the easiest way to say it. And that burden, if you will, has been put on us. We have to make a decision as to the long-term sustainability of the museum. The final answer may not be what one or the other like, but it's been brought to us for a decision, and we have to make a decision. I don't disagree with Commissioner Thomas at all that, you know, there is no rush. There is time to review the proposals. I don't believe that anyone else in Seneca County would have an interest in running the museum, so I don't see any need to send out any proposal requests. But I do think that we have two offers in front of us. One, to continue on the way we are, pretty much, and the second is to take the foundation's offer. I am frustrated with the fact that, you know, we have not done any real marketing to speak of for the museum over the years. We have not done any real fundraising to speak of, except, you know, somebody from the outside trying to do something, and those are duties that I think need to be carried out and have not been. So that's what we have before us. We have an offer. We have not yet have an acceptance. We've got two opposing forces that aren't going to be cooperative, and we've tried this over the last 4 or 5 years to get that cooperation, but it just doesn't seem to exist. So I would like to, you know, have you guys speak to as many people as you want. I, like you, have received, you know, a few emails and a few phone calls, and you know, some of them are wanting to continue the status quo, and some of them say it's time for a change. Not absolutely certain what the right decision is now, but I do know that we have to make a decision. I do know the burden's on us to make that decision. So I'd like to put this thing to bed soon so that it doesn't fester and doesn't cause any additional harm. So I would implore you to talk to as many people on both sides of the issue as you can over the next week. Let's try to get close to a decision. This is like any other thing. If there's some emotion involved, if it goes too long, it becomes a real sore spot for us and for the population in general. Let's bring this thing to a conclusion as quickly as we can. That's where I'm at. So I think that as a matter of fairness, because it does affect so many folks, that I can open this up right now for any discussion that people may have. I would ask to be limited to a couple of minutes each. And Jimmy, I'll let you manage that if anybody out there has any comments.
Okay, let me know in the chat or go ahead and just speak up. If you're on the phone lines, hit *6 to unmute.
Okay. Well,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Audrey.
Hi, good morning, guys. Hope you're doing well. Just a few things from us over here at TSEP. It's good to see you all.
Audrey,
Yeah.
let me interrupt you. Let me make certain that there isn't any museum comments out there before we listen to your report.
Yeah.
Jimmy, has anybody shown any interest in making any comments?
I do not see anything in the chat right now. Actually, I do see someone's hand up. Let me, if your hand's up, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and speak.
Jimmy, this is Jody Reinbolt from the Tiffin Community Foundation.
Yes.
Hello, go ahead.
Hi, Jody.
I just have a question. If you do not accept the proposal of the Museum Foundation, what is the plan from the commissioners going forward?
Well, the honest answer is we don't have a plan at this point. We haven't done any work as it relates to opening the museum according to CDC guidelines as far as flow, distancing, shields, or none of that work has been done. So it'd be very challenging to open anytime soon. But as we contemplate restoring staffing levels, I think it would follow that, Tanya potentially would be called back in those staffing conversations. Whether or not the doors of the museum were open would be a question. I would not be in favor of that at this time, and we hold some liability on that. In my view, we insure that facility. So, but there are other things that could be done: inventory, cleaning. They're in the middle of a glass project for the Tiffin glass. So I think there's things that could be done that would be productive, but we have not had those conversations here, Jody.
Okay, that's just what I was looking for, was clarification. If there was a plan to start some virtual online kind of participation in the museum. I just wondered if you had worked out a plan that we would be comparing a commissioner's plan to the county museum foundation plan. We're not really comparing the two then if you don't really have a clear plan. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
Well, to be clear, I mean, the executive director of the museum runs the museum. The commissioners, although I appreciate all the time Mike has put in to the advisory board, that's not a day-to-day plan at this, they're not day-to-day planning or operating the museum. So if we were to contemplate our reopening, that would necessarily require us to have somebody in place to do that.
Yeah, and I think the other, I believe, Commissioner Paradiso, you had some conversation that the foundation or the Historical Society itself would be coming to us with some specific plan if we were to continue in the pattern that we've had in the past.
That's correct. I think that's the answer, Jody. We had a director. We shut the museum down for financial reasons. We obtained an unsolicited proposal. We're taking that under consideration, but that's where we're at.
Very good. Thank you.
Yep.
You are welcome. Okay. Any other comments out there? Okay, seeing none. Audrey, you're back.
Hi. Okay, yes, so just a few things from us. So for one, we are back on track with coming to, or well, coming on the screen to update you all from what everything we have going on over here. So you can look forward to, from our conversation the other day, a brief update from us here at the end of the month, and then we'll get back to our quarterly updates with you all starting in October. So we're looking forward to coming and presenting to you all, and make sure you have any questions ready for us. And then the other thing, we have really enjoyed being able to provide some value to businesses distributing the PPE kits that were provided to us through Jobs Ohio. They are all spoken for at this time, but if you guys know of any businesses that are really in need of some PPE, please have them reach out. We do have a waiting list if we are able to obtain any more of those free PPE kits. And we could also, depending on the business or what their needs are, there are some local suppliers that we might be able to help connect them with if they are really in need of those supplies. We also, Amy wanted me to share with you all, there is an online virtual conference coming up for the downtown Main Street the Heritage Ohio conference here. If you would like to get in on that, we have some free registration spots available for some volunteers. I know Shane was on the meeting this morning. You guys can ask Shane more about that, but Amy wanted you to know there are some spots available to get involved with learning more about how to better our downtown. And then just the last thing, we do have our monthly business forum coming up on the 19th of August at 8 a.m. And we're going to be talking about some tips for turning in that paperwork that's now coming due on how to repay or how to get your reimbursement for the free part of the PPE loan. Or sorry, the PPPL. And so, and also some other updates from the health commissioner and other local officials in there. So again, August 19th at 8 a.m. Encourage businesses to join us for that local forum in partnership with the chamber. I think that is all I have for you all today. Are there any questions for us over here at TSEP?
Audrey, I have a question. So, and this may not, well, it doesn't exactly fall under you, but we received an email from Julie Tuesday that there are only 5 townships that have approved resolutions for the COVID reimbursement money. Okay, so, and I was out at Reed Township Tuesday night. I didn't bring it up. I just didn't bring it up, but they're not on the list. So and Renee was asking me, what do we do to get reimbursed? So between you and Charlene, if you guys could help, maybe one-on-one call the fiscal officers out there and we need to get this in. Attica, Fostoria, and Tiffin have replied. So there are 5 other villages that haven't replied either.
Okay. Yeah, that does fall under Charlene, and I think either she or Isabel is on. Yes, I see them. So that does fall under them, but I'm happy to coordinate with them and help out if I can on that.
Oh, it's a reason for you to reach out to your rural people. But,
yep, I'll make sure if there's any way I can support that I will.
Yeah, I'll stay out of it, but I thought there would be more that have completed it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Audrey. It's a good update. New business, Stacy. I know we're kind of out of order on some of these things here, but we'll go with new business now.
Yeah, the only thing I had under new business was the Board of Elections, and you guys did that first thing. So
okay.
I don't have anything else under new business.
Very good. Commissioner Paradiso, you said you had some item for new business?
Yes, the 3 of us were on the solid waste district call earlier this week, and wrapping up, coming out of executive session, I believe. Each county is looking for 1 commissioner to be appointed to an ad hoc committee to address the proposals that we're going to go out and receive, qualifications, that kind of thing. So we need one of the 3 of us to raise our hand to join Kay Ryder and I believe Mark Hopler, I think, from Ottawa County to work with Kathy in reviewing these proposals.
How often are those meetings going to be? Is it?
It ends October, so I think it's going to be a couple meetings. I would do it if you guys, unless Shane or Mike want to do it.
Sounds like a volunteer to me.
I know, Mike, you got a full plate, and Shane, you
Well-
do, but I'll raise my hand, do it. It's all new to me. You guys have been around a few cycles of solid waste, so it's kind of a good experience for me to get involved and get into some of these contracts.
You got it, brother. All right.
So don't ask for it unless you want it, right? But if that's okay, we probably need some. It's an ad hoc committee, so we probably don't need formal action. But I will let them know that I'm in.
Stacy, okay, very good. Thank you for volunteering for that, Mr. Paradiso. Stacy, I think, is checking to see whether or not there are any other bids. It is now a bit past 11. So we have a bid opening for OPWC issue 1, round 34. Stacy, you want to take over?
Yes, looks like I only have one bid.
Excuse my ignorance, but OPWC, what's it stand for?
Ohio Public Works Commission.
Yeah, I guess I knew that. Thank you.
Issue 1.
It's not a banking acronym. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, this is for, again, the OPWC for projects for Adams, Big Springs, Bloom, Clinton, Eden, Hopewell, Jackson, Liberty, Loudon, Pleasant, Reed, Scipio, Seneca, Thompson, and Venice Reed. The engineer's estimate for this is $1,268,058. 1268058.00. The bid I received is from M&B Asphalt, Tiffin, Ohio. Their total bid amount is $1,236,353.24. 1236353.24. That's the only one I have.
I'm surprised a project that big, we only have one bid. But okay, it is what it is.
So that goes to Mark Zimmerman then?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, it is time for public comment in general about any topic anybody would wish to talk about. Jimmy, I'll let you take over here and see if we got any hands or any input.
Okay, right now I'm not seeing anything in the chat, but obviously you can unmute yourself or hit *6 if you're on the phone line if you'd like to come forward and make a public comment.
Okay, I don't see anything on my screen.
Going once, going twice.
Okay, it is now 11:07. I will call this meeting of the Seneca County Commissioners of August 6th adjourned.